The Sault Ste. Marie and Area Drug Strategy Committee has launched its call to action. It's a report on the current state of the harms associated with substance use in our area. The report will be released to the public today at 5 p.m. at Algoma Public Health. Over the past 6 years, frontline workers and managers from 20-plus service providers working in addiction treatment, harm reduction, justice and enforcement, as well as prevention and education, have been coming together to collaborate on reducing the harms associated with substance use in our community. Over the past year, as the lead agency and with funding from the Sault Ste. Marie District Social Services Administration Board, Algoma Family Services has worked with the Drug Committee to gather data, complete a literature review, interview service users and providers, as well as learning from 37 other drug strategies in Ontario. The report outlines a strategy of how stakeholders are dealing with the substance use challenges in our community and the work required. With 62 recommendations distilled down to 11 priorities, the Drug Strategy Coordinator Charles Shamus will work with the Drug Strategy Committee and community stakeholders to develop a work plan, and that will be accessible to the public through a soon-to-be-released website. All Algoma Public Health phones are now working, including the Parent-Child Information Line, Sexual Health Information Line, and Appointment Center. All other APH programs and clinics continue to run as scheduled, including the Parent-Child Information Center, You and Your Baby, and prenatal classes scheduled for today. Staff emails are gradually being brought back online. Ontario has ended a $50 million fund that helped childcare centres cover increasing labour costs without passing them on to parents. The move has already led to at least one childcare centre in Peel Region, just west of Toronto, telling parents that their fees will increase up to an extra $72 a month for full-time infant care. Carolyn Ferns of the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare said more will likely follow. She added that Ontario families already pay the highest childcare fees in the country. Parents in Toronto can pay more than $20,000 a year, more than $2,000 a month for children under 18 months. A recent report by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives pegged the Toronto average at $1,685 compared to $1,400 in Vancouver, $1,100 in Calgary, and $175 in Montreal. Ontario's so-called fee stabilization support was introduced last year under the then Liberal government as the minimum wage increased from $11.60 an hour to $14 an hour. It was essentially a way to subsidize the pay raises in facilities where staff had earned less than $14 an hour so that the costs weren't put on parents in the form of higher fees. The former Liberal government's fee stabilization funding ended as of March 31st. The Progressive Conservative government told childcare operators in mid-April any money that flowed to them after that date will be recovered. When asked about the funding cancellation, Education Minister Lisa Thompson touted the recently announced childcare tax credit that applies on a sliding scale to families with incomes of up to $150,000 that will provide a rebate of up to $6,000 per child under 7 and up to $3,750 per child between 7 and 16.
Like a policeman, firemen say you got only 3 minutes. Take the necessary. Okay, we're going there with my wife, and I'm happy because I see inside.
Communities across Ontario watching for or actively grappling with flood conditions reported cautious progress yesterday, even as they braced for a fresh wave of precipitation this week. Weather advisories stretching from Leamington to Ottawa forecast a mix of ice, snow, and rain today, which local officials warned would likely further swell local waterways that have been breaching their banks for the past week. A brief, however, allowed water levels to subside slightly in several of the hardest hit communities, providing a slight buffer ahead of the fresh rainfall. In Bracebridge, Bridge, Mayor Graydon Smith said levels in the Muskoka River and Lake Muskoka have either crested or have begun to actually recede. But he said Environment Canada's latest forecast, calling for between 20 and 35 millimeters of rain, promises to put further strain on already heavily taxed resources. Officials in the Ontario communities of Huntsville, Muskoka Lakes Township, and Minden Hills, meanwhile, also reported that local lakes and river levels had either receded or largely stabilized, but all three joined Bracebridge in maintaining the states of emergency declared last week. And meanwhile, residents of Saint-Marc-sur-le-Lac, Quebec, visit their homes for the first time since a dike burst and flooded their town. Some say they feel better after visiting, but the future remains uncertain.
How are you feeling right now?
Relieved to know that there's no damage on the inside. I don't know about underneath or without anything else, but nothing's been touched on the inside. It does give me peace of mind. I was with mixed emotions between myself. Do I really want to see what's there, but I do want to. But I'm happy that I went, and I'm happy that I was able to get a few things. It looks like a wasteland right now. Really does. But to go in the house and see that it was nice inside, still everything intact, that helps.